Good morning, Al.
Hey Matt, how are you?
Another day.
Are you fully recovered now?
Amazingly, no, but I'm feeling lots better.
Seriously, it took that big a toll on you.
Yeah,
Wow.
I may end up losing my big toe.
Oh my
My,
heavens.
not the toe, the toenail. Sorry, the blister. I had a big blister on the side of my big toe, and it wrapped underneath the toenail. But I've been draining it, and today is the first day that it looks like it's finally done filling
Oh, what
up.
a drag.
Are
That
you? Hmm?
stinks.
Yep. I found a problem with the pose, with the heading in that driver. Um, I'm taking the radians of a radian, and
I know.
oh, you figured that out. Okay.
That's what I tried to. I'm going to have to work on my use of the English language because I'm like not commute. You're too young probably to have ever seen the movie Cool Hand Luke,
Oh yeah.
and there's a scene
What
in
we
there where he's
have
like,
here.
he is a failure to communicate. Yeah, that's what I was trying to.
Here's the other weird thing is that you can't plot a quaternion in RViz. And so it's incorrect to publish a pose message. But if we published a pose message, then you could just see where that arrow is pointing in RViz quickly, you know?
Uh, so that's where, I mean, I found line 243 in the parser was the first place that it takes. I mean, I'm just and then in line 330 in the driver, it takes the second conversion of radians to radians.
Yeah.
So that's probably what you found as well, right?
Yeah. I looked at that HDT message, and for whatever reason on that one, it doesn't convert it to radians as it's reading it. And so it does it after it. But with the RMC message, it converts it to radians as it reads it. So there's a So that's one problem. Second one is
Say
maybe
that again because I'm a little slow.
mhm, I can show you on the screen how that works. Um, just to it just reiterates what you said, um, but I can show you where that come how I made that mistake. Is right here. So this is the HDT message. That's just a standard um, NEMA message. And what I did was I copied this section. But as you can see right here, it's taking the heading from the
Mm-hmm.
HDT message and converting it
Mm-hmm.
to radians.
Right.
And then I copied and paste that up there and then said
Mm-hmm.
RMC. But what I didn't realize is in the parser, the RMC message is
Has
already
already done that.
converted. Yeah. So that was me. And
Well, I had already added to the parser to calculate as well, or to parse out the heading in degrees, um, just so because I wanted that, and I was going to add logic to store the, well, I'll show you where I had gotten. I haven't tested this yet. But, so, you know, I was just going to, if the speed was greater than 1/10 of a meter a second, then to go ahead and use that. Otherwise, I haven't fixed this yet. I need to get the last heading. This was going to be just, you know, use the last heading. And this was going to be, you know, so that every time this comes through, you know, it's storing the last heading. But if it's not, if we're not moving, then get the heading from here. But still calculate, you know, all of that stuff. So that's what I was just at least going to go test to see how that would work out. Because once, you know, I had made this change, you know, to use what was coming from the parser directly. And as you might guess, because my modem is constantly publishing, but it's moving, you know, it's calculating movement of 0.0003. It's just sitting there spinning. I don't want that. So this will filter that out. And I know I might be alone in that my GPS doesn't filter that stuff out like probably yours does. So that's why I need to put that in there.
Well, it just shows up as NAN.
Yours publishes not a number if it's got that. Huh, interesting. And then you were saying there's a problem beyond this that you've thought through? What was the next set of problems that you've already thought about?
Well, let's say that you want to visualize this heading in RViz.
Yeah.
You don't get to do that unless it's a pose message.
But isn't this my pose message?
The looks like a quaternion stamped is what that one is, but you can look at the top on their init where it's.
I'm sorry, you're coming through a little faint. Look at the top what?
That's being published as a quaternion stamped. That's under the init. Will define what message type it is.
I'm afraid I don't
Okay, so you just scroll up there. I'll show you. You can either scroll up and see where current heading is being defined. Current heading is being instantiated as a specific message type, and that's done up at the top. You could also search for current underscore heading, and that will show you where it is. And maybe under Sublime, you could right click and go to definition, and it'll take you right there. You want to go up because it's at the top. Oh, there it is right there, but you can see it.
Am I where you want it to be when you stay at the top?
You asked what message type current heading was. You did it indirectly. The way
I
that
was
I
just
heard
trying to
it,
understand the problem.
is it opposed? And you can, so
What I thought I heard you say is even after I do this, I'm not going to have a pose message, is what I thought I heard you say.
that's correct.
And I thought the ODOM message would be published correctly, and therefore I would have a pose message because this was that.
Well,
True or false?
language has definitions, right?
Yeah.
So in ROS, pose has a definition. Odometry has a definition. Quaternion has a definition. And so if you want to see what message type, what is the definition of current heading, then look at where that variable is instantiated. And if you, I can show you, just stop sharing your screen, be a little faster if you want to see. It's pretty simple. So this is the driver.py. This is the same file that you're looking at. And so when this class is started, there is an init definition. And that's generally where the messages are defined in this init. And so we can see this heading publisher. When you define the heading publisher, you also define the message type. And so it's a quaternion stamped. And then you can also see where current heading is being instantiated. You just say current. So it's a quaternion. A quaternion is different than a pose message or a pose stamped message, which is different than an odometry message. So all I was saying is that you don't get to plot or visualize a quaternion message in RViz.
Will I be able to do a 2D nav goal in RViz with the way this NavSat driver is written at the moment?
Well, we're building a framework, and
I said nav goal. I don't think it's actually called a NavSat goal. It's just a 2D nav goal. Will I be able to press that button up there and let's go from here to there in RViz?
Okay. There are requirements which need to be fulfilled in order to make that true. Okay. So in order to do that in RViz, that uses the ROS navigation stack, MoveBase. MoveBase requires odometry. So this driver, the only thing that this driver does is it reads in your GPS data. It's like a sensor driver. it reads in your sensor information from a GPS, and it publishes fix, which is a NavSat message. Okay. And what you're working on now is having it also publish heading. Okay. So what we need to do is we'll have another node, the odometry node, takes in your fixed message, which is just your lat and long. MoveBase doesn't know what lat and long is. It needs an odometry message. And so we need to convert your fixed message and your heading message and create an odometry message. Once you publish...
You had me until we need to create an odometry message. I thought we already had an odometry message. Well, I know we have an odometry message.
Okay, then you're done. That's all MoveBase needs. MoveBase receives an odometry message and it outputs command velocity. But there's many layers. Think of, so like it took a couple years to get command velocity working, right? To be able to send a command velocity message and get your robot to move. There are many layers inside of that, right? You're familiar with that process now.
I mean, I'm sure you could point out my foibles, but yeah, more or less.
No, just think about that. This is just an example. So you sent out a command velocity message. Well, what is entailed in that? A lot. You have to read your velocity. You have to send out a PWM to control a servo motor. You need to read your steering sensor. All of those things are part of the command velocity framework. Exact same thing with odometry. So you are trying to build an odometry message, and that has a definition. So you can just do ROS odometry, and as soon as you get it publishing this message.
Yeah, the reason I went down that rabbit hole is I obviously mistakenly heard. I thought we have a problem with this driver and that we're not going to be able to display heading in RBIS. And you further, educated me on that. To do that, we would need a pose message, which we don't produce.
Yeah, none of those have anything. Yep. This is just
back to my.
steps.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just pulling back up my.
You got a ways to go, so don't get frustrated. You got a ways to go. Right now, we're just reading a sensor message. Right now, we're simply reading your steering sensor. We have extra steps to do.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, this is not increasing in size. Why I have to guess it to do it over here.
So add a new line under 30 and say confirm ODOM is publishing correctly. You got test ODOM. Where is ODOM coming from? Right there, that's what we're trying to get to. That's the culmination, the pinnacle is publishing odometry.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're still not happy with the ODOM message in part because I haven't filtered out I haven't filtered out messages when it's traveling less than a tenth of a meter a second. For me, anyway.
Yeah.
That's what this is for. I mean, I've done that. We're in the process of doing that. You're saying get the direction of the tractor to display correctly in RViz. Is the direction of the tractor going to display correctly in RViz? Does the direction of the tractor, is it taken from the ODOM message?
Yes, odometry includes a pose message. Odometry is a pose and a twist message.
Okay.
So
So to me, those are the two. You know, and then
I may put a step under 35 and configure move base. You have to configure move base to be able
say
to
that again.
send
You
it.
were coming through faint.
I would probably add a step under 35 about configuring move base and then tuning the TEB controller.
Something like that.
Maybe another line, configure or tune TEB controller. You could still probably send it a 2D nav goal, but what I believe you have at 39 is actually following a path and having it be able to drive.
Was it TEB planner?
Yeah, it's also, yeah. So right now you're working on a sensor. There are a few more steps that you have before you get to 39.
What about sensor? I didn't understand that one.
I said right now you're working on a sensor. You have a few more steps before you get to step 39.
Right. I mean, I don't know beans about these two. I mean, I understand this one. I'm hoping that will fix that, and that's not actually a step, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think you have 31 done yet. So maybe highlight 31. That one's going to be important before you move to step 35.
So, tell me more. What do you think is not finished on this?
I don't know, but right now you're reading a sensor. That sensor data goes into an odometry node that publishes odometry. And that's 31. So once you feel like you've got your sensor correctly publishing correct data, then you make an odometry node.
And you keep saying sensor. I mean, the only sensor really inputting into this is a GPS.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I get it that that's not finished. I'm just, the way you're sounding, though, it sounds ominous that you think there's some other issue around this that I don't know about yet.
Yeah, well, just you talked about being able to click a 2D nav goal and drive. And I'm like, we're not even close to that. Like, think you're on a sensor. You're not to driving a path. We're building the steps to be able to drive a path, but there are a few steps to go.
Well, I'm happy to take it one step at a time.
Yeah, making good progress.
So anyway, back to status. That's where I'm at, is to add that and maybe spend a little bit more time on, let's see if I can find it quickly. I was driving around with the joystick, and that's less than ideal because it's not very repeatable. So I was probably going to spend more time. This is the thing that I wrote to send command velocity commands based on, you know, putting some. Basically, it's the command velocity publisher
Call that dead
based on
reckoning.
a text file.
It's called dead reckoning.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, now that I have, you know, with GPS and whatnot, I could maybe update this a little bit more. And I've gotten, you know, a meters traveled statement as well. You know, I could update this to be a little less dead reckoning. So I might spend a little time on that, but anyway, I don't, driving by joystick is just a little bit chaotic or a little less precise for me, and maybe spending a little bit more time cleaning this up or enhancing this a little bit might be where I spend a little bit of time.
Once you have your odometry
Talking out loud.
message,
I'm sorry.
that's cool. Once you have your odometry message, then you can you can tell it to drive a circle, tell it to drive a square.
Yeah. And then calculate the, what do you guys call it, the curvature or the radius of the circle that it's driving.
Yep.
So, I mean, that bag file, I could write the code to calculate that. The curvature based on the bag file GPS waypoints that I have now, but. And I did that with my John Deere tractor in the old days with, what was that thing, R2 Rover, and what was I forget the middleware thing that they gave it, but yeah, anyway, so Kyler had posted that calculate curvature based on 3 GPS waypoints. Yeah, I've got some Python code somewhere around that does that.
Nice.
So anyway,
That's really
what's
cool.
going on in your world?
I like the map of your field there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was not too terribly hard. It's really, but how it ingested it was why it highlighted things as it highlighted and why it didn't highlight other things. I have no idea why it did that. But yeah, the real secret is measure out a line before you take a clip of the page so that you know at least what Google Maps thinks is the distance, and to make that as straight as possible so there's no, you know, so it is effectively a level line as well. So we'll see. But I still have the problem that you mentioned when I start up ARP is sometimes my tractor shows up here, sometimes it shows up here, sometimes it shows up here. You know, so I don't have my my base, what did you call it, surveyed yet. So I still have I have to adjust where my tractor is each time I start a harvest to get it right on this map. The origin statement and the YAML file, I'm still adjusting those origin positions in order to get the tractor exactly where I want it every time. So I'm always starting at the same place. Does that
Do you
make
know what's
sense?
causing that?
Well, my assumption is I have my GPS, my base station GPS, because I'm not getting correction data, right? I have a base station GPS.
Well, that's why.
And I believe the way that I program my base station GPS is to, you know, take 100 readings and that's the position. So I think it's the variability of that that setting, as opposed to survey that point and, you know, configure the GPS to always use that point.
Yeah.
Is that nodding of I understand the words coming out of your mouth, or is that nodding of yes, that makes logical sense and I agree?
I'm not sure what you have your convergence set to, but yeah, generally once you survey it in, then you switch to fixed mode for your base station.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact.
For example, on the F9P, I was getting a meter variation with the default convergence.
Oh, this is running slow. Why is this running so slow? I'm just seeing if I can find quickly the set of commands I used for my base station. Yeah, I think I'm not programming in I'm not surveying a point in my GPS and building that into the configuration. I mean, so those are the actual commands programming the base station GPS module. And my suspicion is, yeah, I'd have to go back and relook at that documentation. But anyway, at the moment, I'm getting, let's just say a 3-meter variability into where the tractor first shows up each time I fire up RViz, and I adjust the origin statement in the YAML file in order to bring it back to where I want it to be on the map, so that it's always, dead in the center of my driveway. It's not a problem. It's just an annoyance at the moment. Lots of things to fix. Other than that, anything else going on?
I was playing with the GPS.
Playing with your GPS?
Yeah.
Any progress?
Yeah, it's going okay. I ran a couple hours after I got a fixed position. I ran a couple hours, and the position didn't change, and I thought something was wrong. It should vary a little bit, but for whatever reason, it holds it.
What status? What status data were you seeing? Or number of satellites I was monitoring?
Right now, I don't broadcast that. So I was just gonna try today is moving it to different locations. Right now I have it running outside on a battery. So this is actual live data. And
oh, that's cool.
And so this status here says 2, so that's fixed. And it's just tight. So
I was wondering, wonder why they chose to just summarize all of those statuses up to, 2, because there's a number of different statuses.
Yep. I know, it's funny. I did post a thing on GitHub, opened an issue in common messages about adding the GPS quality.
Yeah, I think that would be a good enhancement. Because I found myself putting a debug statement in to look at the actual NEMA statement just so I could see what the actual GPS was seeing.
Yeah, most of the time I don't deal with it. I don't even care because I'm running in an open field or doing a demo. It doesn't matter. But when you've got like 4 inches to spare, you cannot drop out a fix.
That's pretty tight.
As soon as you drop out a fix, you need to know. And so all of this stuff, just like, it really just matters where you're running and what you're doing, Like most of the time I don't even use correction service. I'll just get out and drive. If I'm in an open field, obviously. If I'm just driving down a road or just driving someplace, it doesn't really matter. You get some variability, but there's enough room. So it just depends on what you're trying to do and trying to accomplish. But yeah, you need to monitor what fix type you're in some cases.
And you're using Swift, or you're still using a Arduino Simple device?
Yeah, your Arduino Simple.
And like with the base station, right?
With an Arduino Simple base state. Well, now, yeah. So I've been trying to get accurate location of those fiducials, but thinking about it. But
Well, that's not good that you're not and so you really don't know whether it's holding fix.
well, I did a hack, so I do know if it's holding a fix now. So I'll show you what I did. Actually, I even committed a branch. So if you want to pull down the branch, you would have that also.
Are we talking about driver.py, or are we talking about GPS ODOM?
Right now, just the sensor message. So what I did, so that's how I know. That's how I know the status shows 2. I know it's a fixed message.
You're not sharing, man.
So in here, so see this as status 2.
Right.
That 2 means that it's fixed. So before, fixed and float were the same thing. And that's not good. Like, it just depends if how accurate you want to be. But I wanted to know if I dropped out of fixed. I wanted to make sure that I was there.
So you had the status type.
So I changed the float definition to be to include to make it status 1. So if you're in float, you go to status 1. That's actually in the driver. So it's under the branch change float type. So here's they kind of use this for the covariance. I made 2 changes. I changed this to 0.5. So before float, if you were in, well, maybe it's easier to see here. Yeah, right here. So GPS, when that GGA message, quality message shows 5, that's float. And right here. So here's the definition. 5 is float and 4 is fixed. But the way this worked was on that status message, GBAS fix was for status 4 and GBAS fix
You're
was
getting
for
the same
status 5. So I changed RTK float to SBAS. And so now that'll give us a status of 1. But I think the right way to do it is to extend the NEMA NavSat standard message and to include the quality indicator. And so I opened up an issue on GitHub to see if there's any interest in changing the standard message to include the quality type.
I admit I have confused whether RTK fix is better than RTK float. I was thinking fixed is better. But then I'm like, well, why did they have 5 as worse and 4 as better?
Well, I don't know how they got their numbers. That's
but 4 is better.
That's the
right?
NEMA standard. 4 is fixed. 4
Yeah.
is the most accurate position.
Yeah, that's like, why in the world did they name it like that? That's confusing to me.
No.
Yeah, so
Ask the
I
standards
don't
committee.
I don't pretend to know how to pull down that updated. Do I have to bring the whole thing down, or can I just bring down what you've changed?
With Git, you just change branch. So you do Git checkout and then the branch name. And you can do like Git branch -A. We'll show you all of the branches that are available. But if somebody wants to review it, like if you want to test it, we could commit it and get that back into master, and then then that will just be standard.
So if I look at active branches, I'm on GitHub at the moment. It says active branches change flow type updated
Yep.
22 hours ago. That's what you've just recently changed, right?
Yep. Yep. So you could do Git checkout and then that branch name, and then that'll change your local version to that branch name or to that branch.
Well, if I do compare changes, I see a whole bunch of green. You changed a lot of things.
No, shouldn't be that much.
I'm looking at this right. The last one is not in parser. It says you even changed the parser. If not, re.match.
Oh, I took that out. I got to commit that again. So that branch is not ready for a pull request yet. So I was playing around a little bit.
Don't do this, or do this.
We probably need to do. I need to commit the final changes. Parser shouldn't have changed, or the driver, whatever. The only change on that one, oh, the only change on that one should be the driver, not the other one.
Looks like you took a space out of one of the sentences. Okay. Well, the other thing is to try to get my 12-volt voltage sensor hooked up. And I bought lithium batteries to play with to try to replace my lead acid battery the next time I crash my lead acid battery. I know it will come. I'm just going to show you where I got my lithium batteries from.
Is that for your base station? Your GPS base station?
I'm sorry?
Is that for your GPS base station?
think my internet quality is crappy today. You're breaking up.
I was just wondering what you're using the lithium batteries for.
To be like Elon Musk.
No, but what are you powering? What are the batteries connected to?
They'll replace my lead acid battery.
Oh,
Ultimately.
in your lawn tractor?
Yeah.
Cool.
So this is a one battery. It's about the size of a Kindle. It's down in the basement, or I'd show you. And one of them is 3.7 volts. So you take that to sort of mid voltage. So it'll go up to 4.2 volts. You take 4 of those. That means you could take up to 16 volts in. These things will output up to 200 amps. My working assumption is the starter draws probably between 100 and 120 amps. So you could start it with, 4 of these, and you're not going to overcharge them with the 14 volts that'll come out of the alternator. So 4 of these cost $16. Now, I mean, you could screw it up and, but it's just something to mess around with. Down here, they have a video of how they started a car with 3 of them. It's just another rabbit hole to go down. Just another rabbit hole to go down. Because that's what we need, is more rabbit holes.
$4 a piece. It's pretty good.
Yeah. And, the price only seems to go down. And the weight and the size, I mean, imagine 4 of those things, I bet weighs 5 pounds, maybe. It's just the power weight ratio is pretty crazy. Anyway, just something interesting to think about.
That's cool.
So that's what's going on here. Anything else, brother?
More testing. More air catching.
I heard that. I heard that. But, if Jeff would, like fix everything, then we'd be cool. Jeff, have you been on the whole time? I have to admit, with my thing, I can't really see who the participants are.
Yeah, I've been here the whole time. So I have 2 things. Do you have a link?
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
That link to a manual that KVH sent you, do you have the link for that? What you sent me was just a picture and there's no links to download that.
The gyroscope, you're looking for the gyroscope link for the manual?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Well, IM me your email address. I don't think I have an email address for you.
Okay, I'll send you that. The other thing is I kept complaining about my steering, saying it's offset and it won't go all the way one direction. And I thought I just needed to increase the number of the PWM to make it go further. So I went and actually played with it, and it turns out I kept changing the number. I could make the number smaller and smaller, and the thing wasn't moving. So I thought either mechanically it's up against something, it can't go any further. And then the more I played with it, I remembered I'd turned the range pot on that giant servo. So I opened that up a little bit, and now it'll go stop to stop. So it could be that it's not as bad as I thought it was. So it's just a matter of, now that I've got it so it goes both directions, I can go again and get the maximum number and the minimum number, and then either write up a map command or just simply take the, just leave it like I have with the scale factor. And so if I go do that, I might be able to get it to the point where it will behave a lot better than I thought it would. So that's just something I got to go do.
Remind me, what potentiometer are you using?
Well, the steering has one of those giant RC servos to move the steering back and forth. And on that board, there's a potentiometer
And so
you
it's
can
the one
adjust.
with,
So you can reduce the maximum range from 300 degrees down to about 90 degrees if you want to. And I had it set around 180, and apparently I had it set a little too low because it wouldn't go all the way to one side. So I just opened that up a little bit. Now it does go all the way. So after I did that, I'll have to go write the numbers down again to see what my max and min value are.
it reminds me, for both of you guys, I 3D printed those enclosures for those servos with 100% infill. If you guys ever want to test those, you just let me know and I'll send them to you. Took about 12 hours to print each one, I think. I haven't ever spent any more time on it, but and they're Prusa orange. So now that I know you're there, Jeff, what else is going on in your world?
Nothing, I guess.
Oh, come on. What have you bought?
Oh, just another comment on those gyroscopes that you were looking at. If you look at the one that says $359, he says it is used and tested. He doesn't say that he tested it. He says it has been tested. So I think when he got these in a box, if it came with a piece of paper saying that somewhere along the line it was tested, he claims that it was tested. And then he's got the other ones for $129 that he says this is being sold as parts because either says I have no way to test it or I can't test it. So it could be that both ones for $129 and ones for $359 are exactly the same ones. It's just that some of them came with a piece of paper and some didn't. But I don't know that for a fact. That's just, trying to read over the little funny little things they say here. Then he's got another one that's $59, and that one says, it says, does not work, has not been tested, or something like that. And again, it might be the same thing, or it might actually be missing parts or something on it. Or it could be sold to somebody and they returned it and said it doesn't work. So he's saying he's going to resell it as something that doesn't work. So it's hard to tell. I think it's just like a surplus dealer got these things that he's trying to sell them. So he probably doesn't really know anything about them. But so that's just something I noticed looking at his different ads out there.
It's all feeling a little dodgy to me.
What was that?
It's all feeling a little dodgy to me.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, that you don't know what you're going to get. And even if he said you could return them, which I don't remember if he said that anywhere, you probably got to pay the shipping to send it back. So I don't know that it would. It's not a sure bet to buy one. I guess that would be my comment at this point.
Yeah. Any other interesting discoveries you've made?
Probably have been, but I don't have them written down, so I don't remember what they were.
Okay.
Oh, I could do this. Let's see. Since it says I'm wearing my green shirt today, I'm again just a floating head. So
That is peculiar.
that's why I have my
Floating
back.
head.
That's why I have my background turned off.
Don't do that. That's too peculiar. Okay, guys. There's no more interesting packages that you've ordered and that have shown up that you want to talk about.
Nope.
Matt, don't you want to tell us about that skid steer that was in your photo earlier? I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be very interested.
Yeah. No.
No?
Uh,
Okay.
fun robot.
It's a robot?
Sure.
Okay, guys. Have a great weekend.
See ya.
Okay, I say it.